guys. Welcome to the podcast, the channel, whatever you want to call us, but welcome to It's Okay. And this is episode number 6, and what we're going to be talking about is taking responsibility for your actions, like actually owning the things and how owning the things that you've done wrong and how hard that is sometimes. And it is really hard to do that sometimes. Nobody likes to be wrong. Most people don't like to admit when they're wrong because, then it may or may not make them look good or bad. And nobody wants to look bad. And, I understand that. Myself, I don't like to look bad, but, sometimes I make stupid choices and it happens. None of us are, free from the repercussions of our actions. It just, it is what it is. You play with fire, you get burned. You mess with the bull, you get the horns. You get my drift. But anyways, we're going to get right into it. If you can think of a time in your life or times in your life, because not all of us just mess up one time or two times. Our life is full of mistakes. Our life is full of times when we make choices that we, probably shouldn't make. And those choices, a lot of times, end up affecting the people around us. Whether we like it or not, every decision we make may or may not have an effect on those around us. Whether it's those that live with us, whether it's our friends, whether it's family, whether, kids, parents, siblings, you name it. It affects people, and our actions always affect others in a positive or negative light. And I think a lot of times we don't actually see it that way. We don't forethink, and we always seem to have like an excuse as to, well, I didn't mean to do that, or, we excuse ourselves when we make a bad choice because we don't want to think that we hurt somebody else. But the bottom line is we need to accept responsibility for those actions. We need to accept responsibility when we hurt someone. We need to understand that it's not okay. And I'm guilty of it myself. I have probably hurt a lot of people in my lifetime. Did I mean to hurt people? No. Does anybody mean to do? I mean, you'd have to be a really, really rotten, nasty person to do it on purpose. But the average person, I don't think anybody means to hurt somebody else. I don't think at the core of humans, that we are bad, nasty people like that, and that we just hurt people for the fun of it. I don't think that's the way it works. But it happens. It does happen, and people are affected, and it's not always nice. It's not always pleasant. And living with the repercussions of your actions isn't always pleasant either. That may look something like you lose a friend. You lose friends, plural. Family doesn't want to be around you anymore, or you lose your children, or, what have you, or you run your spouse off. Everything that we do comes with some sort of repercussion. So it's good if we really try. It's really good for us to think through our decisions and think through our choices and think, how will this affect the people around me, not just me? Unfortunately, in today's world, there's not a lot of that thought going on. People have become very selfish. People have become very self-centered, very me oriented. There's so much of the truth for you and grace for me that's going on right now in the world. The whole topic of accepting, when you're wrong and, admitting and taking responsibility for your actions, that's not even a forethought in today's world. It's not even a forethought. Family values are pretty much gone, or they're leaving quickly. It's definitely not like when I was a kid, and, you were more forgiving with family, and you were more loving and caring and understanding and extended more grace. And it was, family was special, and you'd do anything for them. And I said, it does not seem to be going in that direction anymore. Myself, I can tell you, this is just me personally, and I'm sorry if I messed up when I touched that microphone. But myself, there are things that we could all sit down and list that we've been through in our life, things that our parents have done to us, things that our friends have done to us, or just, other people have done to us, people we've worked with. We could sit down and make a list. And, we could actually not talk to those people anymore if we really wanted to. We could just cut everybody off. You did something that I don't agree with. You said something I don't agree with. You acted a certain way and I don't like it. And we could just start chopping people off because they don't fit in our box. We could do that. Now, me personally, myself, I've been through a lot of trauma in my life. I've had a lot of things happen to me. If we want to narrow it down to parents, I don't care what kid on this planet it is, I could set that kid down and they could list at least 5 things that their parents did that they felt was traumatic and wrong to them growing up. Now, the opposite side of that, if you did that with the kids and then you went to their parents and showed them, you did a video of it, and then you show the video to the parents, would those parents accept responsibility for what their kids just said? Or would they deflect that and say, well, I did that because they did this. Well, they did this and it made me do that. That was their problem. Would the parents watching the video or reading what their kid wrote deflect it or own it? And I think that's one of the biggest problems, is not people, not just parents, but I'm going to use parents as an example, not wanting to accept the responsibility for things that they've done that is wrong. And, sometimes that's what you need to do. That's what you should be doing. Because at the point that you're real enough with yourself to accept the responsibility, that's where you're going to start healing at. Because you can't become a better version of you if you're trying to lie to yourself or wiggle your way out of the truth. Now, back to my situation personally. I like to use my own situation personally because, I don't want other people to feel like, they're all by themselves. Honestly, my parents have done enough in my lifetime. If I never wanted to talk to them again, if I was like the way it is now, I'd probably never talk to them again. But you know what? I'm not like that because I still have family values. My kids, my older kids, we talked about it before, how I'm estranged from them and I don't talk to my 2 oldest. But you know what? I would do anything for them. I don't have to be, like that with them to still love them and to still know that I would do anything for them. Family is family. I don't really have any communication with my brother, but you know what? I would do anything for him. Family is family. I'd do anything for his wife. I would do anything for my kids' husbands, my girls' husbands. Family is family. You can run, you can hide, you can shut them down, turn them off, estrange from them, ghost them, whatever you want to do. But they're still your family. And at the end of the day, whether you like it or not, God gave them to you. He chose those people to be in your life. And he also expects you to steward all the relationships accordingly and properly. Families are not always going to agree with each other. Friends are not always going to agree with each other. Spouses are not always going to agree with each other. We're people. You are you and I am me. And that's the thing. Families aren't going to always see eye to eye. But that's the great thing about having family values, is that you see through the mess. Love sees through the mess. And that's where family value comes in. It doesn't matter how much somebody gets mad. The love should still be there. I always think to myself when I'm looking around the world right now, if God loved us and treated us the way we do other people, we wouldn't have a relationship with him. If God said, oh, I don't like the way you're doing that, so I'm ghosting you, I'm cutting you off, a lot of us, probably most of us, would not have a relationship with God. He would disown us. But he doesn't do that. And, if I'm going to say, I'm not going to sit here and call myself a Christian. I hate that word because it's so, I always say Christians. I am a Christ follower. I am a God follower. Yes, I read my Bible. I believe in God. I believe in heaven and hell. And I believe the words of the Bible. Did I grow up in church? Yes. Did I agree with everything I saw? No. Did I agree with everything I heard? No. But that's because when I grew up in church, it was about religion, not relationship. And as I have gotten older, obviously, become an adult and grown up, I learned that relationship is what it's all about, not the religion part. So, and when you have that relationship with God, that's also part of accepting responsibility for your actions. Because the Bible does say that we reap what we sow. And everybody reaps what they sow. Now, in modern day times, we want to call it karma. Well, I hate to tell everybody, I just, hate to break it to you, but karma is basically reaping what you've sown. So if you do something and you hurt somebody and it comes back to you in a bad light, you kind of asked for that. So you're just getting back what you put out. And you get out of anything what you put into it. So if you want a relationship with someone, you'll get out of that what you put into it. If you don't put something into it, then you're probably not going to get a good relationship out of it. So, but I'm just saying with anything that you do, you reap what you sow. And that is, biblical. It just is. There's no arguing that. But yeah, I know I've gotten off on little bunny trails here about family not being what it used to be. And, people just not sticking together anymore. And it's really sad. I feel sorry for the little kids and things now that have to grow up, and that this is not the way we grew up. It's not the way I grew up. I born in the 70s, went through the 80s, through the 90s, young childhood in the 80s and teenage in, late 80s and through the 90s. And those were the days. Those really were the days. And, yeah, I think we need to actually learn back to what I was on. We need to start accepting responsibility for our actions. I'm not above it. I'm not above doing it myself. I've made a lot of mistakes, a whole lot of mistakes. I don't do everything perfect. I am far from perfect. I tell you that right now. I've got more flaws than a jagged board. I'll never be perfect. But the whole point is to love people even when they're not perfect, even in their imperfections, because God loves me and mine. So why wouldn't I love you and yours? And most people would think, well, you're using that as an excuse just, to force love on. And no. If you choose to not accept responsibility for your actions, and it does take two to tango, okay? I don't care what situation you are in, it took two people to get there, all right? Maybe one contributes more to the situation than the other, but it takes two to get there in a usual situation. Now, there are some situations, sexual assaults, things of that sort. No, that was not a two. That is a very one-sided. But I'm just talking in an average disagreement, maybe, somebody felt like they got hurt or traumatized by something somebody did. Situations are usually caused by two different parties. You have one party that did something and it hurt somebody's feelings or didn't set with them the right way. Then you have the other party that was the reciprocator of that. Okay, so you had the doer, the one that hurt everybody, or the somebody. And then you have the person that was on the receiving end of that. Well, obviously, the person on the receiving end of that hurt is thinking, are you even sorry for this? Or, what's the deal? And what happens is we usually get so hurt over something. I don't know what the sensitivity with humans are these days, but we get so hurt, and that's okay, that we don't handle the communication part of it right. If you hurt me, I should just say something to you. I should be able to say, hey, when you came to me and you talked to me about this, and this, that really hurt me. It made me feel really bad, upset. And a person should be able to tell you that. And you, as the person that did the hurting, should be mature enough to sit there and say, whoa, I'm sorry. I wasn't thinking. I was hurting, and I am so sorry. I will do better. But people aren't that open with each other. It's somebody ran their mouth, the person on the receiving end gets upset, and all of a sudden, those people aren't talking anymore. The person that ran their mouth, that hurt the person on the receiving end, doesn't think they did anything wrong because nobody said anything to them and nobody spelled it out for them, because nowadays everybody has to have everything spelled out for them. I don't know why, but they do. Then you've got the person on the receiving end that's thinking, oh, they knew exactly what they were doing. They knew it. They're smart. They know what they're doing. Honest to God, I think a lot of times the way that we don't communicate, or we have a lack of communication in the world today, I don't think we even see that. I think a lot of times we'll say something to somebody and we don't even realize we hurt them. For instance, I'll give you a good example of that specifically. My older kids that I'm estranged from, I know maybe some of what they are disgruntled about with me, but not the intimate details of it. That's not something they've ever said to me. I have had one sit down and talk to me a little bit, but there was no really like, hey, when I was this age, you did this, or when this happened, you did that, and it affected me this way, or it affected, there's been none of that. None of that has gone down. Like examples, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So it's been more of the opposite. The I should know. And some things maybe I've guessed. Some things that have affected them in a not so great way, in a negative way, actually. But the guessing game seems to be a big thing in today's world. But everybody needs to remember this. If somebody is willing to accept responsibility for their actions, and they're willing to accept the repercussions of their actions, if you are on the receiving end of whatever happened, be willing to tell that person what they did wrong. Be willing to tell them. Don't just walk away, don't ghost, don't all that stuff. Tell them. Just tell them. Because here's the deal with that. If you go to somebody and you tell them, you did this, 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 and this, and it hurt me. It literally hurt me. If you tell them that and they don't reciprocate, like they don't look at you and say, oh my gosh, I'm sorry I made you feel that way. Even if I didn't see it, I'm sorry. I will do better and do my best not to put you in that situation. I'm really sorry. Spell it out for people. Long communication skills is not a bad thing. Spell it out. Some people need it spelled out. Myself, I need it spelled out for me. I love details. I'm all in the details because that's how my little brain works. My little brain doesn't work with just, I'm mad. Can I have some more details than that? Or I'm not talking to you. My brain doesn't work with that either. It needs more detail than that. So anyways, let's all start communicating better. Let's accept responsibility for our actions and communicate about it. Let's not be afraid to accept responsibility. It doesn't make you a bad person because you accept responsibility for your actions. And honestly, it doesn't make you a bad person because you screwed up. Because you know what? We all do it. We all screw up. You're human. You are not going to be perfect. You are not going to ever not hurt anybody. And that's just the reality of life. So anyways, I'm going to wrap it up there. But yes, let's start accepting responsibility for our actions. Let's start communicating more. If you have dealt with any of this, like you have problems accepting responsibility, or you don't, maybe you're like me, you have to have it spelled out, or you've been through something where you felt like somebody tried to blame you for something you didn't do, or whatever. Put it in the comments. Let's talk about it. Sometimes it's good to talk about stuff. It's good to see other points of view. It's good for you to see, maybe somebody thinks a little different than you, and it can help you pivot in your thoughts. So, yeah, make a comment about it. Let's discuss it. So, anyways, I will drop clues to what the next episode will be about next week. I really am trying to still get into the groove of these podcasts, and trying to make more of like a script and how I want to do things. And honestly, I love doing everything. I'm in what I call my dressing room, and I love it in here. It's like a prayer closet. It's like a quiet place. It's a book nook, a reading place. It's solace, peace is in here, and I love that. So, but anyways, all of you that are watching, be blessed. understand that you're going to make mistakes and God still loves you. And we are all just trying to get through this in one piece. And I hope nothing but blessings and love for all of you. But have a good rest of your week and weekend. And until next week, it's all going to be okay.